it's a little bit weird for me. I don't know. You've obviously done way more research into sports than I have, but is it kind of weird for you to see one tiny school continue to produce the same sort of like type of player?
It can be weird. It's funny you mentioned Marquette because that's where my younger sister goes.
Really?
But and they just a draft prospect they got this year is Marcus Howard. Of
Hmm.
course, he tore up NCAA for the past 2 years with scoring average of almost 40 points a game, which is insane.
Yeah.
But schools like Marquette or Davidson, where you got Steph Curry, and you just get these small schools and they produce such generational talents. It's truly great.
Yeah, definitely. I think I both my aunt and uncle went to Marquette, and so when Dwayne Wade was coming out of the draft in 2003, I was like, wherever he goes, I'll like that team because at the time the Wizards were not good to say the least. Kwame Brown
Mm-hmm.
was he was still there, and I think most people listening are familiar with the Stephen A. Smith Kwame Brown rant, which is still comedy gold. If you haven't seen it, please go YouTube it. You will be happy you did.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but from the Sixers' perspective, I know when the trade for Jimmy Butler was made, one of the pieces that I was a little bit sad to part with was Josh Richardson. I've not paid much attention to him since he's gone to Philadelphia. But how's he been so far for you guys?
He's been a good fit. He can really defend. That's what he's most known for. Um, and we were a solid defensive team. Where we struggled though was shooting. And I think where it really showed was that Al Horford signing
Mm-hmm.
um, to spend almost 100 million and to have him serve as a bench player uh, really hurt the look of that acquisition and our team. So we needed to stay healthy. We were healthy entering the bubble, getting
Mm-hmm.
back into it, but then we were riddled again with injuries. We had Ben Simmons go down during still the regular season play,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had Embiid. He was battling through injury constantly through the end, and then it just kind of all fell apart. And
Yeah.
so they wanted a scapegoat. I believe in Brett Brown,
Mm-hmm.
but Elton Brand has to share that responsibility of blame because he's the one who's assembling the team.
Sure. What was the thought process behind signing Al Horford in the first place? Because I had looked at that like you guys already had Embiid. Maybe it's a veteran presence who knows how to win. I could see it from that perspective. But was that the thought process, or was there other thoughts behind it as well?
Well, I think um, first it was nice to steal him from the Celtics, um, but I thought they were going to put him back where he started in the NBA at power forward. Um, Usually he's a traditional center,
Hmm.
and that's what he played in Boston most of the time. But I thought they were going to pair him alongside Embiid. And Horford's a decent shooter. He can hit mid to outside shots. And so I thought they were going to try and use him as a surprising 3-point shooter uh, for a big man, sort of like Nikola Jokic.
Hmm.
Um, but he just couldn't do it. And so that was that was a problem. And so Embiid can hit threes, but he's more effective inside and drawing
Definitely.
fouls
Yeah.
and getting to the basket.
He is a I don't think there's anybody in the league that can guard him one on one in the post. Um, but now looking forward, so Brett Brown is gone. You mentioned the injury troubles. I know both of them have been injured fairly frequently. Both of them being Embiid and Simmons. Is there a look to trade one of them or move one of them, or is Doc River? Are you guys going to wait until Doc Rivers kind of gets in and see what he wants to do, or what have you been hearing from your Twitter sphere, other sources?
Well, what I've heard is, well, Doc Brown arrived in Philadelphia 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
He's looking to just use what he's got, and he's shown time after time. with the countless playoff appearances that he can put together a winning team with what he's got. But that doesn't mean they won't trade one of them. Simmons, for a while now, has not been able to develop a jump shot or a 3-point shot, which is a problem for point guards.
Mm-hmm.
And so we saw him move to power forward right before he got injured. Unfortunately, we weren't able to see all that much of it. We only saw one game. So if anyone wants to move, I would likely see Simmons. I would like him return a decent shooter, be it Devin Booker, maybe a Victor Oladipo, or a Buddy Hield.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who can really shoot the three, get a jump shot, and be that go-to person as Jimmy Butler was last year for us.
Yeah, I've heard. I think I heard on ESPN maybe that the Sixers were looking at Buddy Hield. Would that likely be a 1-for-1 swap from Simmons for Hield, or what kind of package would they be looking at to get him?
I would likely see. It all depends on how big of a package they want to put together. Um, I know the Sixers might be tempted to send Horford away as well, but that's bad salary. So they'd have to package together Horford and Simmons plus some draft picks for Hield. That way they're dumping salary space and they're acquiring a young guard who can shoot.
Mm-hmm. Is that the ideal scenario for you? As like if you were in Elton Brand's position, what would you do if you're Sixers GM and you're playing 2K or whatever? What's the move that you make there?
I I would be very tempted to discuss with Minnesota about that first overall pick, um, and try and acquire Anthony Edwards. I've also heard the Sixers are very high on LaMelo Ball. Now, the Ball family is quite a scene, and Lonzo hasn't. He's been okay, but he
Mm-hmm.
hasn't been that talent that we expected.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be tempted to trade to Minnesota for that pick, but I'm also but if I were a GM, I'd probably package a 1-for-1 deal with Phoenix, who wants to dump Devin Booker but gets someone else in return. And I think Ben Simmons could be that decent player that they look for.
Is Booker looking for a way out?
Um, Not necessarily. I think he's just looking for a change of scenery. Um, he's been in Phoenix for his entire career, and they've been subpar. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you're in that environment for a long time, it just becomes tiresome.
It does for sure. At the end of the bubble, they looked pretty good though. They were the only undefeated team in the bubble. Do you think that was a fluke, or can they continue that next season? Should the team stay together as currently constructed?
Um, I think they have a chance, but I think it was more of a fluke
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of teams were looking to just stay healthy or stay in the position that they wanted to be in, be it a first seed, second seed, third, and so forth.
And keep the matchups that were favorable to them moving into the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.